As the world continues to grow, it is essential to allocate time and resources for the long-term difficulties that come associated with a growing population. Major cities such as Chicago is a location for major environmental concerns. But before we dive into Chicago and its energy dilemma, we need to know about something called climate change.
Climate change is definitely alive and well. One of the leading causes of climate change is the heightened emissions of CO2 and burned fossil fuels. On a broad scale, this causes natural disasters and the melting of the Arctic, which affects the cooling and heating systems of the Earth. This is also along with the global temperature that has been consistently rising. Specifically in Chicago, our water sources are at risk due to increased rain and flooding. This raises the question of sewage control and drainage, and that is just one of the catastrophic risks presented.
Now that we know a little about climate change, we can dive into Chicago's energy issue. An urban city like Chicago has an alarming demand for energy. According to an article from Business Insider, the average American uses 283 kilowatt hours of energy per month. This is equivalent to having an oven running for 6 full days at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, enough to roast 36 15-pound turkeys. But the constant reliability on standard energy sources contributes to the greenhouse gas emissions. In result, it increases the effects of climate change. With such high energy consumption, Chicago needs a better way to provide enough energy for its residents and during times of emergencies, while at the same time decreasing the effects of climate change.
Fortunately, there are innovators and innovations currently in the works. Thanks to Mayor Rahm Emanuel, Chicago is now committed to shift city-owned buildings to 100% renewable energy by 2025. This has led to more innovative programs such as the Chicago's Energy Benchmarking Ordinance and the Retrofit Chicago Energy Challenge. Benchmarking raises awareness of energy performance and unlocks energy and cost-saving opportunities for businesses and residents. This can make the city more livable, competitive, sustainable, and save millions of dollars. What are the benefits? Thanks to Chicago's Energy Benchmarking Report, we know that 25% of energy used in a building is wasted. But by addressing this, buildings can save $110 to $214 million a year. What else is Chicago doing? The Retrofit Chicago Energy Challenge, a voluntary challenge to reduce energy by 20% within 5 years. It's well-rounded because it reduces costs for building owners, decreases carbon pollution, and provides jobs. Avoiding these greenhouse gas emissions would be equivalent to removing 167,000 to 306,000 cars from the road. It's now more important than ever to take action.
Thankfully, there are a set of individuals and groups who have already taken measures to mitigate climate change and the problems that come with it. These advocates include the C40 Cities Climate Leadership Group, politician Mike Bloomberg, Mayor Rahm Emanuel, the U.S. Department of Energy, the Chicago Infrastructure Trust, the Chicago Department of Buildings, Planning and Development, and many, many more. In fact, the Emanuel administration has already taken large steps over the past 5 years. According to a recent report from the Office of the Mayor, it has been announced that Chicago has reduced its carbon emissions by 7% from 2010 to 2015. Much of what has been done relates to the Retrofit Chicago Energy Challenge, in which more and more groups are participating in. This movement involves the retrofitting of buildings, energy benchmarking, residential disclosure, and the reduction of coal use. Buildings were often evaluated for their efficiency. Not only did this increase awareness and transparency of energy use, but it also reduced energy use by 2 to 4%. Mayor Rahm Emanuel addresses the issue with a sense of urgency and responsibility to take initiative rather than wait on new administrations to decide whether or not climate change is real. Cities take the helm in the fight against carbon emissions, and Chicago stands as a beacon of example to places around the globe.
As Earth gets older, we must look into different methods of sustaining it, just as we would sustain our older individuals. Now, at the same time, this means that we must share all of Earth's resources and not be greedy with the ones that they provide for us. Now, the formula for a more sustainable Earth, with our help, will lead to a more successful environment. Without a plan for a more energy-efficient Earth, we will certainly be looking at a very disastrous future. This requires for all of us to join in the efforts to save our environment by looking into more sustainable methods of energy. Our main slogan in this fight to save Chicago is "Renewable is doable," because it is in fact doable. We have all committed into this struggle for a better society. Now what will you do?